Normally when I work with a client, they get 2 different blue colours, 2 different red colours, and 2 different yellow colours. And they're served up in a little shot glass like this. So they're pre-mixed, fluid, all watercolours, and they get a Prussian blue and an ultramarine blue, and then they get a cinnabar red and a carmine red and a lemon yellow and a warm yellow. And normally, you know, I would ask a client whether they prefer the warm colours or the cool colours. And just to show you what I mean, I've done a couple of colour circles here. So here is an example of the warm colour circle. So it's made with the warm yellow, the cinnabar, and the ultramarine. And those colours are, of course, are the primary colours. And mixing 2 of the primary colours creates the secondary colour. So we have the orange, the green, and the purple. And it looks the way it looks. It has quite a granulated look over here. And that's because we use the ultramarine blue. So what you can do is you can also see the difference to when you work with the cool colours. Here's a colour circle I've made with cool colours where I've used the lemon yellow and the carmine, and here I've used the Prussian blue. And I've mixed those to create the orange, the green, and the purple. So just to see, I'm hoping you'll be able to see the difference holding these up. I'll try and hold them up so that you can get a view of both of them. The yellow and reds are cooler than when we look at the warm colour circle with the yellow and reds. So you have a bright yellow here and a warmer toned down yellow here. But in the cool colour circle, the greens have a vibrancy that you don't get with the warm colours when you create with the ultramarine and the cinnabar and the warm yellow. It has a sort of more dull look. So what I thought I'd do today is I would create a colour circle where we try and mix the Prussian blue with the ultramarine to get a blue, which is a mix of the 2, and we'll try and mix the cinnabar with the carmine to get a red. That's a mix of cool and warm, and we'll mix the lemon yellow with the warm yellow to get a yellow, which is a mix between those 2. And then I'll try and paint a colour circle here, and we'll see what it looks like. I'll put a bit of that into my little shot glass, and I'm putting in the ultramarine first, and then I'm putting in some of the Prussian blue, and that's about roughly the same sort of amount there, I think. I have to kind of test and try it out and see. I haven't tried it before, so it'd be fun to see what happens. So start off with a bit of cinnabar red here, and then we're going to put in a bit of carmine, half and half, like a good little shot. And then the warm yellow mixed with some lemon yellow. And then we'll see what the colours look like. So we'll start off with the yellow. So I take my brush and mix it. So it has quite a warm look still. The other thing that I normally have to hand actually is a piece of paper and that I can test on to see what do I think. Okay, so that still looks quite warm, and of course it will be harder. So perhaps what we need to do is put a bit more of the lemon yellow in. It'll be harder to get the mix that I'm looking for, because of course there's a little tiny bit of red in the warm yellow. That's why it's warm. So I'm mixing more lemon yellow into my yellow mixture to see if I can, yeah, I think that's a little bit better. So it's not as warm as the warm yellow, but it's not as cool as the lemon yellow either. So I'll go with that color, and I'll use that for my first square here. So I'm going to paint that. I'm going to take this color. I'm going to paint that in the first thing here. So this square or triangle points out to this space here. So I'm just painting the yellow here as well, because of course it's the complete color circle that we want to create. And this is watercolor paper that I'm painting on. So I've just drawn up the color circle. I'm painting on that. Got some paper there. Right, so that was the yellow. So I think we'll continue with the red. We'll put the red here. I'll just mix this. So this looks quite carmine in color. So it has a lot of the darker red already. So we'll see what I think. Yeah, it's quite carmine. Not very dark, but a little bit more cinnabar, I think, to give the mixture that I'm maybe looking for. Right, so we'll try that and see if that's better. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Right, so we'll try and go with that, see how that works. So I'll use that in the next triangle here. That's where I put my red, and like the yellow, that's pointing out to here. So I'll just put the red, paint the red out here. Red has a sort of tendency to contract, so you have to kind of work quickly, and even still you can see it's sort of contracting a bit in sort of certain areas. Next, we want to work with the blue. So we just want to paint the blue in here. I'm just mixing up my blues, my little cup. And then that's just, so I'm just going to try and see on my test paper here what the color is like. It's got a little bit of warmth in it. It's maybe tending a little bit towards the ultramarine, but it's not. It doesn't have. It still has less yellow. Less red in it. So we'll go with that and see what that looks like. What happens when we start blending the colors here? So here I paint that blue in this triangle. Blue, like a little bit like red, has a tendency to sort of has a tendency to kind of contract, not contract quite in the same way as red, but it has a tendency to kind of streak very easily. What we want to do now is we want to create the secondary colors. When I'm working, I like to have a plexiglass acrylic clear plate, and I like to as my sort of mixing palette, and I like to just put a white piece of paper underneath. So what we want to do is we want to create a nice orange here. So I pour out a little bit of yellow on my plate, so just a little puddle, and then I pour out a little bit of red. Not into it, because then I can't control it. So now I take a bit of the red and I put it into my yellow, because I know from experience just how powerful the red is. It doesn't take a lot of red to create an orange. But saying that, this could maybe be a nice warm, because it has sort of almost like an egg yolk yellow, this one. So I'm thinking I might just try and take some of this color. So I'm considering maybe using this for this square here. First of all, of course, I want to do an orange here as well, but the orange that's here has to be a warmer color, a deeper orange than the warm yellow here. So here I'm taking a bit more of my red, popping it into the orange. Oh yes, this is a good orange. That's a really nice orange. That's a lovely warm orange color. So I think we'll use this one. So nice, that's a very kind of orange. Making me think of oranges. Maybe actually oranges aren't this orange, but in my internal perception they are. So I'm painting my nice warm orange here. This is the yellow and the red mixed together, creating the orange. This is also the orange we want to put out here. And in between this color and this color, I'm going to put this. So I'm just using the water I've got here, sitting here, to clean my brush, because of course now it's got quite a bit of orange in it, and just wipe my brush in this towel. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit. Not cheat. I'm going to take some of the colour that I really want to put in between these two, and I'm going to put it on a piece of paper here to see what do I think. Because I felt this was quite a nice colour. But what I also want is I want to have a good difference between this colour, and this colour. So I want this colour to look, to be quite easily distinguishable from this colour. So there's a good difference between them, so that you get a nice sort of run from the yellow to a warm yellow to an orange to a orange red to the red. So this can be a good way of working out whether you think that colour is going to work. And I think once that's painted up, that's going to look okay. I could maybe do with a tiny bit more yellow to give it just a little bit more difference, but not a lot. Just a tiny bit, and then we'll use that for this. So yeah, I think this is going to work. So as you can see here, there is a good difference between the yellow that we've painted already and then the orange that we created. So with that done, we can move on to this space here. And this space here should be this color, which was the orange, which we painted here. This was the orange that we painted here. Now we want to use the red, which is this one here. We want to put more of the red into the orange because we want to create a really warm orange, or a kind of orange red. So we put more of the red into the orange. Oh, as you can see, that, you know, me putting that red in just made it really red. But it's got a really warm, really nice warm red now. So maybe the question is here whether that's too, is it too red? Should it have a little bit more yellow in it? So then again, I paint on my piece of paper. I hold up my piece of paper and I check and I see, do I think, is this color, it's clearly different from the orange. There's a good difference between those two, but is it very different from the red here? And actually, I think it is quite, you know, it's quite nice, warm, that red here. So I think we'll go with that. We'll try that out, see how that end up looking once we've painted that. So then we'll paint that here. Oh yeah, I think that's going to work. So it's a sort of lovely warm glow. So this red, of course, that's the thing with watercolor. They always have this beautiful glow once you're painting with them, because they're wet and then they dry and can sometimes end up looking a bit dull, especially these kind of school type educational sort of colors. You know, if you want to maintain your glow, then you need to use artists type colors. So yeah, I think that worked well. I think we've got a nice, you know, difference between the colors here. So let's move on to working with the red and blues, or maybe we'll go this way because that way I'm not going to be having my hand over the wet area. So we'll maybe actually go from the yellow to the blue. So I'm pouring out again some of the yellow, and then I'm taking some blue from my mixture and putting out as well. And again, you know, the blue is more powerful than the yellow. So I'm going to start off with just taking a little bit of blue and putting into a kind of larger puddle of yellow. And just look at how quickly that blue sort of overpowers the yellow. It really quickly creates a green color. So this is a sort of almost like a little bit of an apple green, grass green, a little bit more blue. So what I like to do when I do this, so I like to, like I did before with the yellow and reds, I like to kind of work on the side here to create kind of differences. See, do I actually like it if I put just a little bit more blue in? Do I want my green a sort of a darker green? Or do I think that gets too dark? No, I think actually probably this is quite a nice green for the mixture of yellow and blue. So sort of in here. So I think we'll go with this green here, the sort of slightly darker of the two here. So I'm gonna just paint in my green here. As you can see, obviously you can make it quite light by just putting in a thin layer of the green. We want the green to kind of match the intensity of the yellow and the blue and the orange and the purple, which is going to be mixed. So now, of course, here we have the yellow and the blue mixed together. And the blue has this streaking tendency, so you can kind of see the streaks actually here. And that's what also gives that kind of sort of tendency here with the green. It's the blue that's creating the streaking in the green, if you can see a sort of streaking. And the yellow really has this radiating quality. So it's sort of, is what should be sort of balancing out. The yellow kind of balances out a little bit the blue, so it takes a little bit of the streaking away from the blue because it has this kind of radiating quality. And if it's a good green, then you get that. So this green here, just painted sort of lightly, as you can see. It has sort of less of the streaky quality. I'll try and put a bit more colour in. Right. So I then want to put a bit more yellow in here, I think, in order to get a nice kind of yellow-green here. So I actually pour out some more yellow. Now, normally what a lot of people do is they pour more yellow into the darker or the lighter, if they want to create a lighter color. They pour straight into the color they have already. I would always suggest you take the color you want more of and you mix in from the color that you've mixed already, because the blue is overpowering the yellow quite easily. So it's a good thing. You see how green this yellow is already. You can imagine how little the difference, how small the difference would have been if I'd poured the yellow straight into that green. So here, that's going to go in here, in between this green and this yellow. And if you're in doubt, take your scrap paper and put the color onto your scrap paper and say, do I think there's certainly a good difference between the darker green, but is there a good difference? Is the difference enough between the warm yellow and the green? Perhaps, you can debate with yourself. Maybe I should put a little touch more of the green into the color that I've painted. So it's always good to check with a piece of scrap paper to see if you're satisfied with the difference I think this is a good kind of light green, so we use that. Just use to paint that in here. Oh yeah, I think that worked nicely. Or you can always take your brush and wipe it on something dry, and then you can just sort of gently move the bit of colour, spare colour. You could even try and just sort of soak up a bit of the colour if you feel you got too much colour onto your square. Right, so that's our light green or yellow green. So here we want to create our blue green, and the blue green is obviously going to be more blue than the colour we have here. So here, putting in some more blue to our green to create a nice warm, not warm, but darker green. And then, of course, it's a question of preference. You know, how dark do you like it? Do you want a petrol green or petrol blues? Do you want a lot of blue in it? So if you're uncertain, just take a bit more blue and have a look. How dark does that get? And that gets very dark. Now we're definitely further towards the blue. Of course, I've got the lighter green up there mixing in, so that's all the time kind of making it slightly lighter. So we've taken in a little bit of the, so that's quite a dark green. So let's have a look and see on our piece of paper. Is that how dark? Oh yeah, that's a nice, lovely, lush dark green. I think we'll use that one there, because that's a nice difference between this one, and still it's a green. Could possibly even put a little more blue in it, but we'll go with this colour now. So that's a kind of nice progression from the yellow down to the blue, I think. So now we just need to do the blue to the red section. We're going to start off by pouring out some red and some blue. And then we're going to put in some red on here, and then some blue, and see what kind of purple we mix here. Right, so I put in quite a lot of red here. So this is kind of red purple, I would say. This is quite a warm purple because it's got a lot of red in it. So if we were to create what's more of a purple to my mind, we can do a lot of blue here, and then we'll try and put just a little bit of red in. Oh yeah, it gives us kind of nice purple here. There's almost still a blue purple though. So there's a very good difference between this purple I'm mixing here and this one up here. Big difference. So in fact, one could probably be for this square and the other one could be for that square, but we need something that kind of meets in the middle. So I'll maybe try and mix the red here. So we're closer again towards this. Put a little bit of blue in that. So as you can see here, I'm actually working with 3 colors at the same time to try and get a feel almost in advance for the difference that I'm wanting. And I like my purple to be quite blue, so I'm going to put a bit more blue in. Yeah, we're getting closer to the more traditional purple. So what we can do, again, we can take our piece of paper here, and this is, so I've got the purple I've created here. Oh, that's a nice purple. And then I can see what does that look like compared to the purple with the more blue in it. Yeah, that's nice. And then what's it look like with the red purple? That's nice too. That could probably take a little bit more red actually. It doesn't look it, or maybe it's just because my brush is quite full of these 2 colors already. But yeah, and maybe this could take more blue and more red, and then we'd have like a nice kind of difference between the three colors that we're gonna put down. So I'm just going to clean my brush because it's full of red and blue before painting with any of these colors. And then we'll paint with this blue. That's the mixture between the red and the blue. That's a nice purple. I'm just going to clean my brush. And then I think I promised myself I'd put a little bit more red into this purple here. And then I think I need to just double check. Yeah, it's a nice red purple. So we'll paint that here. Lovely. And then it's a nice difference between this purple and the red. So there's a good difference here, there's a good difference here. That's what we want. And then we want to paint the darker purple. And maybe just double check that purple. Maybe even do with a little bit more blue actually, to really give it a sort of bluish purple. Or violet. So we'll paint that here. That's a nice colour. Basically, we've created the colour circle from the 3 primary colours, and it's a good way to start working with clients, getting them to mix the colours, really get an understanding for the different ratios between colours, so how much yellow to how much red in order to create the orange. That's really orange. And the same with the other colours all the way around your wheel. That's all for this time. Hope to see you another time.